You know, I have to tell you, I love being in Sweden, and I found out a few days ago, my heart was broken when I heard this, that Volvo was sold to an overseas company. And I really lament that. I feel like Volvo is an iconic Swedish product. I've always wanted one myself. And it makes me very much appreciate the fact that, you know, when I hold this guitar, it's not a copy of anything. This is an original design from the original manufacturer, still available today.
So if you buy a Martin guitar, you never get a copy. If it says Martin, it is a Martin.
That's correct. And we have a serial number and proudly mark Made in Nazareth on all our products. And, you know, it's a wonderful thing. It's a pretty magical but kind of simple formula, you see, because basically we've got two things that are unparalleled. We have the best people making the guitars, and people in Nazareth are fantastic. If you visit the factory, and I invite anybody who's in New York, there's a free tour every day at 1 o'clock. So if you ever get to New York City, it's a 2-hour bus ride, and it is inspiring. And it's like any factory in the world. The factory is predicated on the fact that one person does one job all day long. And that's true at Martin Guitar. The person who carves the necks, that's all that person does all day.
And he does it very well.
Wow, incredible. And then we also do, you know, we use the best woods that we can find in the world today, which is becoming increasingly more challenging. And we are definitely seeking alternative woods, environmentally and ecologically conservative and conscious choices. We're starting to use the waste product of our own sawmill to compress those things and make high-pressure laminate out of them. People still want the traditional tone woods. This guitar certainly shows that off. Spruce for the top, ebony for the fingerboard and bridge, incredible Indian rosewood back and sides, and genuine South American mahogany neck. And this is now, you know, before 1969, all the rosewood we used was from Brazil. In 1969, it became an endangered species. We switched to Indian. From time to time, I want to show you this guitar because it's very special. From time to time, we can find something like this. This is Madagascar rosewood, which
it's a bit darker.
yeah, it's darker and a little more swirly, and it has more of the cosmetic characteristics of Brazilian. This is a sunburst, spectacular Eric Clapton model in Madagascar rosewood. It's a beautiful guitar.
It really is.
Yeah. Same people that make this guitar make our Style 15, which is plain mahogany satin finish. And the same people do the same tasks on all the models. So I find that such a wonderful part of a Martin guitar. You know, every guitar is our best effort.
That's really something. I mean, but what are the 3 key elements of making a great sounding guitar?
Fantastic question. The key elements, those 3 key elements would be how you brace the top, how you connect the neck to the body, and the finish. We pride ourselves in this. This is Martin's standard X bracing. If you look under the top of a D28, this is what you're going to find. These are all hand-carved spruce braces, hand-glued. There's so much work on the inside of a Martin guitar that nobody gets to see. It's really a pity. But this is what is critical to the sound. This brace is so important, we actually call it the #1 brace. Some of your listeners may be familiar with scalloped bracing. This is a very special feature on a guitar. Scalloping occurs right here and here and here. And what that does, there are several women actually who do this delicate work. They carve away the central portion of these braces, creating the scalloping effect. And that just gives you a little bit more of the guitar. That's the difference between an HD28, which has the herringbone trim, and a D28. And I love scallop racing. I think scallop racing is fantastic. This is the standard series. Some of our more affordable instruments utilize the A-frame brace.
As well as the X.
Well, the X is still there, but the A-frame is up here, and this was developed in 1993. And we patented it this time. It was called the D1. It was the first time we made a guitar with any laminate woods, and people were like, "Oh my God, Martin's going to the toilet!" But actually, the guitar was fantastic, and it utilized. You can see a lot of the top is, and this bracing pattern was rather brilliant. And some years later, because of the innovation of this part, which I'll get to in a minute, we were able to actually blend these two to make a series called the 16 series Martin guitars, which has scallop bracing from here down and the A-frame from here up. Getting to the second part of what makes a guitar sound good is how you connect the neck to the body. This is rather critical. There's a lot of sound produced, and the way these two pieces talk to each other and exchange vibration is so critical. You can't do it with a bolt. This is something we're quite proud of. This is the dovetail joint. It's a very well-known way of connecting two pieces of wood. This is the standard series Martin guitars utilizes the dovetail joint. It's probably the most expensive aspect of the construction.
Really?
I'll tell you why. It takes us, Anders, about 3 months to make even a simple Martin guitar. At the
3 months?
Yeah. At the end of a month, the body has been put together, so it's been, the back and the inside is completely done. We've wrapped and glued it, but it's a raw box. At the same time, the neck is being carved out of a piece of mahogany. But not any neck, it's a neck for that body. And then we introduce these pieces, like E-dating, and this neck goes with this body only. We pre-fit, they're still raw pieces of wood, it's just completely raw, and we number and match them. And then they go separately through the factory for several months to have various things done to them. First of all, they never arrive at final assembly the same day. There are about 350 steps to make a Martin guitar. The last step is final assembly, but you can imagine these two pieces are finished, so you can't make a mistake. And the other aspect, which is, I think, a miracle, she's always waiting for him or he's waiting for her. They never arrive the same day. And that's a commitment that we love, but it's very expensive.
But very good.
It is. I mean, most manufacturers will put the guitar together and then finish it. So we finish them separately. It's quite incredible, really, to have this kind of commitment. But because of its expense, when we came to market with the D1, we needed to find a way to integrate the neck and the body like a dovetail, but that would allow us to use any neck that was ready to go, not to wait for that one guy to show up at the church, if you know what I mean. And this was the innovation. And this up here, the A-frame, really allowed this innovation to take place. This is called mortise and tenon. And this was just a brilliant way of being able to attach the neck to the body right away and not have to wait for that one pre-fit neck. That saved a tremendous amount of time. The other aspect of the guitar sound, of course, is the finish. What you want is a finish that allows the wood to vibrate and remain tonal. Yet you need to seal the wood. We pride ourselves on this hand-rubbed nitrocellulose lacquer finish. It takes us 3 weeks to do the finish.
Well, and what's the finish? What's the...
Nitrocellulose lacquer, which we buy from another company that makes lacquer for furniture, is a very gooey, very difficult substance. We have a robotic spray room. The body comes in on a hook, and a robot sprays a fine mist of this lacquer and completely coats the body of the guitar. Then we allow the guitar to dry, of course. And then we sand it by hand completely. And then we do it again.
And again.
And again. And again. And again. About 7 coats. That's why it takes...
More coats than a car.
Yes. And then the final coat is polished with lamb's wool to this high sheen. In actuality, the finish on a Martin guitar is about twice the thickness of a hair. It's nothing. But it allows the wood to breathe. And if you can allow wood to move and breathe, it remains tonal and increases in tone and vibration as it ages. And that's why my favorite part of a Martin guitar is the day you fall in love with it at the store is the worst it will ever sound. And if they could make laptops like that, I would be so happy if they would only get better and hold their value. Amazing. Now, this was another aspect of the D1 in 1993, 3 weeks for a finish. But what we decided to do, because we didn't want to compromise tone, we asked the people who make our lacquer finish if they could give us a satin formulation, because actually a satin finish dries in half the time and is very light. So those guitars at any price range are going to give you the most important thing, tone. There's a wonderful saying at Martin Guitar that they take a tone and build a box around it. And that doesn't change at any price point. The goal is still to make a guitar that sounds fantastic and will last longer than you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.